College basketball fans, welcome back to the College Ball Show. He's Marshall, I'm Chris, and we're here to talk some college hoops. And right now, as we speak, Duke is up 64-63 with 3:38 to go. I'm just looking at ESPN, so I'm sure it's way deeper. It's ESPN live stuff totally sucks now the last few years. But anyway, I'm sure my co-host, the North Kakalaka kid, is looking for that to be an L, right? We almost had an L from Auburn, the number one team on the road, 74-72. They snuck that puppy out. Gonzaga didn't need to sneak anything out. They could have snuck out early in the game and still won. They put up 90 on BYU. UCLA falls to Arizona in the rematch. Then Ucla turns around and loses in triple overtime. They got some big games coming up, though, so they do have plenty of, potential to bounce right back. Arizona beat USC on that Sunday or on that Saturday as well, so that was a great week for Arizona. They really bounced back, that's for sure. Kansas demolished Baylor. We figured they wouldn't lose at home again. We're back-to-back big games anyway, and they didn't. They definitely looked good. Duke did just scrape by North Carolina. There was a variety of games that we'll definitely get into. Providence kept it moving. They've been just real solid this year in general. We definitely talked about them overall. We had a good week of college basketball. Marquette beat Nova. That was a big game as well, dating all the way back to Tuesday. It was a Tuesday. This next Tuesday is huge. Tuesday, Big Monday's a thing, but man, Tuesday, there were some really good games. That Kansas-Iowa State game, the Texas game, Providence-St. John's, just definitely stacked, man. No doubt about it. Duke did beat Notre Dame. We were talking on air while that game was going on. This weekend, we've been spoiled. We're talking about off air. We've been a little spoiled so far since we started, we transitioned from college football to college basketball with the schedule. Because we've had so many great games. And like I said, this Tuesday is packed. I mean, Marquette visits UConn. UConn's in the thick of their schedule. Illinois going at Purdue in the rematch from a great game. Wisconsin, Michigan State. But I got to admit, Friday also, sleeper on Friday. Friday's been hit or miss so far, UConn and Xavier. That should be good. But, the Saturday schedule, definitely has some, Texas at Baylor, and there's some good games. Rutgers could give Wisconsin a little bit of problems. There's good games. I'm not saying there's not. UCLA and USC kind of stand out as the top matchup, I guess you could say, rankings-wise, Gonzaga and, St. Mary's as well. But it's not as jam-packed, but it still should be pretty damn good, no doubt about it. We're going to get into that. We're going to, recap, preview, and predict, kind of break down how the big conferences are going in the races, some of the big games, within those conferences. But if this is your first time listening to the College Ball Show, welcome. It streams live right here on blogtalkradio.com/Roboto Radio. You don't have to go to Blog Talk and download the show directly there, or listen to the browser if you don't want to. You can find this here College Ball Show under the Robodope Radio podcast on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Player FM, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spreaker, Amazon Music. We're also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network. While you're at it, why don't you head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. And one more thing, if you're thinking about cutting the cable or you're not quite happy, I got something for you. It's called DirecTV Stream. The prices start as low as $69.99 a month. It's the best of live TV and on-demand. No annual contracts, no hidden fees. If you upgrade to the Choice or Ultimate package, that'll give you 3 free months of HBO Max. Plus, you get to enjoy regional sports networks with no additional fees, which we're seeing is tougher and tougher nowadays on cable platforms. And if you go all the way to the Premier package, that'll give you HBO Max and Showtime already included. That's DirecTV Stream. Okay, let's bring in my co-host. I just realized I went a little long on that intro. Let's catch up with the co-host and see how he's doing. I'll shut up for a little bit.
Well, I'm doing good, but speaking of college basketball, last Saturday was tough. I've obviously been a Carolina fan my whole life. I'm a huge sports fan. But Carolina's probably been the team I've supported for most of my life. And that was one of the worst games I've seen Carolina play against Duke just because they never really had a chance. Rarely do you see like blowouts in that game, but there was, there was maybe one time in the game where I thought we might make a run in the first half, maybe one time in the second half, and that was really it. And I realized I've been spoiled by pretty much always having guards for Carolina who are like going to be future NBA players or overseas or something. But there was no explosiveness. It was just a beat down of a game. So that definitely sucked. Obviously, I got to give credit to Duke. I know their players said they were motivated to win for Coach K. That was his last game at Duke. It's rare that Duke whoops our ass in Carolina, but they definitely did. And Carolina's best player, Manick, who transferred from Oklahoma, had a hell of a game. And yet Jay Billis, the whole game, Chris talked about how tired he was. Well, he was tired because the coach he literally played the first 38 minutes of the game, then went to the bench to finish off the game. It's like, wait, in what world are you going to have this guy play 38 minutes? I just thought it was really stupid coaching by Hubert Davis. Like, okay, I know that he's been kind of your offense all game, but you can't let him rest for a minute or two. So, no point guard, awful shooting. Duke killed us. I hate saying it, but I got to own up to when my team wins, because when they do beat Duke, I like to brag about it. So, yeah, that was a shitty day. But you're right. We do have a great show to talk about as we have college basketball. I just wish I could have bragged about a Tar Heels dub against the Blue Devils.
Well, there is that game. Usually it's at the end of the season. I think I'm correct on that still, that it could be payback. You never know.
True.
I mentioned Providence kept it going. Arizona had a hell of a week. They got jumped out like 42-30 or something like that on UCLA. Good old Ucla right off the bat. And although UCLA played decent down the stretch, it just wasn't enough. 76-66. They shot 48%. They got to the line 30 times. They shot 20 of 30, and that's kind of a reoccurring theme that we may want to keep an eye on. 15 turnovers as well in that game. But, obviously Ucla is a tough club. They had pretty much handled them, in the first game. So it was a good bounce back after kind of just getting not completely destroyed the first time around, because it was only like 16 points, but they just never were in that game. And then to turn around, Marshall, and sure, it's back-to-back games on their home floor. I think they've won 15 in a row on their home floor. They go out against USC, shoot 47% from the field compared to 34%. Only took 10 threes, 4 of 10 compared to 70 of 30. Got to the line 24 times compared to 13, but once again, 16 out of 24, 66.7. Not great. But Arizona really kind of seems to be, in peak form. They had a pretty good non-conference, win. Well, they had a really good win on the road at Illinois. At Tennessee, they almost, got the dub. They're, headed in the right direction when a week ago or 10 days ago I thought, like, man, they didn't really look good in that game. But to bounce back and get two ranked, wins, especially cleanly, Arizona's got, we got to keep an eye on them besides, I guess, the free throw shooting.
Yeah, I think it would have really, really said something about UCLA if they could have swept Arizona. You kind of expect in college basketball, it really is kind of a common theme of teams will defend their home court. And obviously, if you look at those games, both teams had really good first halves at home. And that, when UCLA beat them, they'd had their home fans there for the first time in quite a while. And of course, you're coming back. Arizona's at home. They got their home fans. They're going to come back. I said it was kind of a common theme last week, and it really does hold true to where when we get into March, if you're looking for teams you want to bet on that you think could maybe be good teams to win a conference tournament or go deep in March, look how often they've won hard games on the road. Again, it's one thing to beat shitty teams in your conference, but if you have the guts and the players and the skills to beat a good team on the road in college basketball, that really is a rarity. That's why, like I said, I've been kind of betting this year. I've been doing okay because in pretty much any close game, you bet the home team. And I know that sounds kind of like, just like, really, that's your theory? But if you look at it, Chris, again, like we went to the Big Ten last week, almost all those Big Ten teams, their home records, like 13-3, 12-4, 13-2, 14-1. Like it really, it makes it kind of sound like, dude, is it that simple? And not that the game is that simple, because obviously different teams, different styles, different matchups. But when you really do look at win-loss records for teams at top of their conferences who are especially legit, or even in the shitty conferences, I'm sure even the teams up top there, you're going to see maybe 2 to 3 home losses max with 15 to 16 wins. So for those teams who do sweep opponents in their conference who are good, that really does show you that either A, they had a hell of a day, they might have a bit of advantage on, or B, that's a damn good basketball team. So again, I give them credit. Arizona might be the best team in conference, but they took care of their home court. And if you don't believe me, just go check out the conference end, because there's a lot of truth to it. But hey, in the Pac-12, you're right. It's the most fun and maybe the best top heavy it's been in February, Chris, in probably the past 4 to 5 years.
Excuse me. Yeah. That is a good point, and it's really it is kind of interesting as far as what that means, that home court. It is a big deal, no doubt about it. And that was another reason why I thought Kansas, to kind of go into that off that theme, they weren't going to lose again in a big game at home. Kentucky slapped them around. They slapped Baylor around 83 to 59. And it was a spread effort by Kansas, no doubt about it. Got a little contribution off the bench. But when you look at Baylor, I mean, their starters had a rough outing. The best is probably 6 of 15 by Flagger, but otherwise 0 of 11, 2 of 9, 1 of 5, 5 of 12. And, got a little off their bench, but not much. Obviously we know they still have, a guy out that is a crucial part of their team, but they've looked good even in tight losses prior to that. But anytime, neither team shot well from three. I'll give you that, but 51% to 30%, that's pretty major, as far as just shooting from the field. They out-rebounded them. I know, Baylor got a lot of offensive rebounds, but that just sounds like a lot of misses. You know what I mean? So, Kansas definitely bounced back real nicely. And I'm not going to call, UConn in completely, free fall mode, because shit, they have some quality wins, on their record, but it did seem like they kind of, Creighton's good, but at home, you got to beat Creighton. And they lost 59-55, which turned into, now we got to go at Villanova. They lose that game. They were competitive, but they lose that game. And we talked about the schedule. Marquette, Xavier, at St. John's, Seton Hall, Xavier, Villanova, and by the way, Creighton another time. There's probably like 2 other games that are like, okay, they can win those for sure. We talked about how we're going to find out about how good UConn is. It seems like they got caught slipping with that game right before it, and they basically had, they got a game on the 8th and a game on the 11th. They need one of those, Marshall. They definitely need one of those to remain, relevant right now, because it's a hell of a stretch, and you got to have some confidence. You can't lose 5 in a row and then think you're going to turn right around and win the last 4.
Yeah, and again, let's do a little backtracking. Like, Villanova whooped up on UConn, but prior to that game, Chris, Villanova got shot out the damn gym by Marquette. I would say that, and again, this is one of my first craziest points of the year, but if Marquette plays like they did against Nova consistently, that's a Final Four team. Like, they shot literally like they didn't effing miss. Like, no, like, I watched the first half, and I had a fun game to watch. And Nova's a good team. Like, Marquette punched him in the mouth. Nova came back, hit his shot. Marquette punched him in the mouth. Nova came back and hit his shot. So in the back of my head, I'm kind of thinking, okay, is Nova going to pull this off? But in the second half, Marquette kept making their shots. Like, that was a Final Four performance for that one. In my opinion, again, if Shaka's boys can play like that, that is a dangerous ass team. There's so many variables to go on, okay? But that was one of the better performances I've seen all year from a team. But if you look at their track record, they've been playing elite basketball for the past, about a month and a half, and it's really showing. And of course, what does Nova do after they got punched in the mouth by, again, I wouldn't even say they played bad. They just couldn't stop Marquette. Yeah. They come back and whoop up on UConn. So there's so often, Chris, again, do you see, okay, we got our ass kicked. We're coming home on our court now. Now it's time that we defend ourselves. So UConn, you're right, UConn's been in a blender of a lot of tough games. And that one was kind of like hey, UConn, sorry that we got our ass whooped last game. Now we're going to take it out on you. One of those moments, Chris.
Yeah, and they have a win at Marquette, and maybe maybe that's going to not. I don't know. It's kind of weird because it's like they have a win against Marquette on the road. That was a while ago in December. You know how you play like 2 early conference games, then you go back to your non-conference, and then it kicks back in your conference. Now they have a home game at Marquette, but they're pretty much a different club, like you said. So it's going to be rough, but I should have known. I should have bet that Creighton game, dude. To just be like, dude, they're going to get caught looking ahead. Look at their freaking the way they end. But they do have quality wins. We're going to keep an eye on that whole, obviously, Big East. Couple of really tight games. Rutgers at home, to your point, we were talking about, destroyed a Michigan State team that's played really well of late, 84-63. Texas destroyed Iowa State 63-41. Iowa State, I think, got knocked out of the rankings there. Xavier lost to DePaul 69-65. I think that was from Saturday anyway. Definitely interesting. That I didn't see that coming. And maybe they, were kind of looking ahead to the schedule they got because they got to play at Seton Hall. They got to play UConn, I know, twice. And then I think Providence in there. So this whole mixture of the Big East, we're going to get there pretty soon. But there wasn't a whole lot of surprises on Saturday. But, I mean, there were some, but there was a lot of blowouts too. But overall,
I will say, Chris, the one weird thing about Xavier, like if you look at their win-loss record, you could say, hey, that's a tournament team. But I'm pretty sure now for the past 7 games, they've been down at halftime. But I think they'd come back to literally win those 6 prior to the DePaul game. And DePaul, prior to that, was only had 1 win in conference. So Xavier has the pieces. They have the skills. But if you consistently, and this is more of a college football team that we've had, where teams kind of come out slow. You normally don't have that in basketball. But it is very odd of a trend to have your team literally lose 7 first halves in a row, yet have a tremendous record. Like, do you recall ever that happening too often with a good team that just doesn't seem to come out with energy?
Yeah, that's weird. Usually it's the opposite. You come out of the locker room a little, second half, like, oh, we got this.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know. They're a very interesting team, which it's just, yeah. So when you're looking to bet them on a given week, if you watch the first half of the game, don't freak out. Just, you're probably going to be in a 10-point hole. But then come second half, they're going to bounce out of it. And they actually did. They came out in the second half of that game against DePaul. They went on a 17-2 run. They also did the same thing to Creighton last week where they went on a 27-2 run. But DePaul punched back. I think they cut the lead down from 10. They got a 4-point lead. But they got lazy with the ball, had a few turnovers, and it was a wrap. But, yeah, Xavier, man, if you can get it all together and even play maybe 35 minutes of good ball and have 5 minutes off, you're probably going to be a pretty good team. But you can't be doing 20 on, 20 off. That's a really hard way to be consistent, my friend.
I forgot to mention, too, Baylor, obviously they had a great year last year, right? They won the championship. and a decent start to this year, a little bit more decent considering who they lost, but they had won 9 in a row going into that Kansas game, who is ranked 10th, against the top 10 opponents. They had won 9 in a row, dude. That's pretty freaking impressive. Obviously, they were due for a loss, and boy, did they get freaking a loss. Good news, very good news, breaking news. 69-68, the Duke Blue Devils go down against Virginia, who, by the way, did need a dub. You know, it was kind of like, hey, what's going on? And I'm looking at it, Marshall, and we're just talking about, you know, not coming out to play in the first half. It's 14-1 at the 16-minute mark of the first against Arizona. Now, we just got done talking, oh, man, look out for Arizona, dude. But did you see this? And then now all of a sudden Arizona State, who, by the way, the Sun Devils, you know, got that triple overtime win. They better freaking mix it up a little bit. Any other items from this last weekend that you want to talk about? I was really not that Georgetown, you know, they're having struggles, but I like there's something about beating a team, you know, that you're supposed to beat, right? You got to win the games. We talk about that with the Timberwolves this year. You got to win the games that you're supposed to win. And Bynum goes for 32 off the bench, 7 of 8 from 3. No problems at Georgetown. Like I said, I know this isn't the Hoyas, you know, from yesteryear. But 71-52, 20-2. Providence got to roll them. But any other items that you'd like to discuss from this last weekend here, sir?
Yeah, the only one I want to say is if I'm going to consistently say that, hey, if good teams can win at home, that's how basketball goes, let me give credit to a team who doesn't give a shit where they play, apparently, for now. And that is the Kentucky Wildcats and Coach Cal and his guys. Because you went into Kansas and whooped their ass. Okay, so cool, that's a good win. And then you went into Alabama and kicked their ass too. And this is the same Bama gym where a week ago they beat Baylor, which was a good win, and played Auburn really tight. So, you know, so it's like, damn, it's like, dude, if I'm going to give people credit for always winning at home,
right.
I for sure. So, I mean, you want to talk about it takes balls to win on the road? Well, Kentucky's done that now against 2 of the better home court advantages in the whole country.
And they would have done it against Auburn if they had tie too. Golly, I forgot about that.
I know. So is Bama not quite as good as last year? Sure. But again, on a given day, Bama's beat a lot of top-notch teams in the NBA this year, in college basketball this year. So, hey, Kentucky, we're going to get – if you can walk into the toughest arenas in the country and beat teams easily by double digits, you are a serious team to worry about if you get that draw in March.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. And that's not taking anything away from Auburn, that's for sure, because they are
not at all.
22-1 and all that. So not a ton of movement per se within the top 10, like big drops. Obviously, UCLA dropped majorly because of losing back-to-back. They lost 9 spots. So did UConn. We just talked about them. They lost 7 spots. Michigan State, for that bad loss, lost 4 spots. So, yeah, I mean, Gonzaga, you know, it's funny, in the coaches poll, Gonzaga's number 1 and Auburn's number 2. But, yeah, there wasn't a ton of movement there. But, you know, big Mondays, obviously we just got a big upset, right, that we were just talking about. It's 16-5, by the way. I'm going to keep updating you every minute. You know, big Monday's a big day. Saturday is always big. Thursday night used to be bigger. But this year so far, Tuesday night college basketball has been a hit. Not a miss, a hit. And here we go again. Number 18, Marquette, going on the road at UConn. UConn, a 5.5-point favorite, my friend. Auburn at Arkansas. Didn't they just have someone get hurt? I can't remember. They're only a 2.5-point favorite. Number 14, Wisconsin at Michigan State. who now needs a nice win. Michigan State beat Wisconsin on their home floor, so the Badgers are coming for blood. And then a rematch from what? Was it a double overtime game a couple of Mondays ago, or probably it was a Tuesday, but I think it was Monday. At Illinois at Purdue. I mean, dude, Tuesday, forget Big Monday, Marshall. Tuesday night is the place to be. And you know what? What do you think about that UConn being 5.5-point favorites? I do think the Badgers, by the way, I was so strong on the Badgers, to go in there and say, screw that, we're going to get the dub. But I forgot, Michigan State just got their ass kicked. And they're going to respond now. Damn it. I'm confused, man. I'm sorry. I'll pass it to you.
I can't bet against Marquette. And I know I sound like I'm a Shaka lover, but that team in the past 10 games is, besides Kentucky, is probably playing the best basketball in the country. So, and I suppose you could lose the game and lose by less than 5.5. So,
sure.
UConn's a good squad. Again, I think if you look at their scores, sometimes they're dropping 80 in games, sometimes they're dropping 60. I do think that losing that book knight from last year, who was kind of a really go-to scorer, has hurt them. But again, if we're talking about moments to, punch back and get back on track and have a nice win, UConn's been going through a grind of a schedule. You just faced, like I said, Villanova on a tough night, and Creighton beat you by 4. So, it's your time to bounce back in your turn. But I can't bet against Marquette. Now, Marquette could get their ass kicked, they could lose. But if I'm talking just from a pick perspective on the show, and we like to give our picks and talk some gambling, I would gladly take Marquette with 5.5 points and see how it plays out. They're playing really well. So let's see what they get. But yeah, it would be a great win for UConn to, right the ship after and end a 2-game losing streak and avoid a 3, because after you go to play Marquette, then you go to Xavier. And again, Xavier on a given night in the second half can ambush you. So, Jesus, the Big East has been a lot of fun. It's maybe not quite as talented as the Big Ten and Big 12, but it sure is fun as hell to watch, and it's pretty evenly balanced out of a conference.
And just for the hell of it, I'm going to go UConn, although, man, like you said, that's a nice Marquette bet because you still have the little, 5.5 sugar, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I may pick them and go the opposite way, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like pick them on the show and put my money on Marquette just because of that. Now, as far as the rematch from a double overtime game a couple weeks ago at Illinois, Purdue got it done. The big thing is that I think he's junior from Jamaica, Kingstown, if I remember correctly, big 7-footer Kofi. He had a rough game that game. He had foul problems. He didn't really do much. 10 points, 5 boards, played 22 minutes. I'm guessing he's going to do more. Okay, I'm guessing he's going to do more, and I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick him. I'm going to pick Illinois to go at Purdue, which is very tough. Purdue is a 6-point favorite. I'm going to go straight up, but I also like that little 6 points. So I'm going to go Fighting Illini to pay him back. And I really don't know what the hell is going to happen in that Michigan State game now. I've totally forgot that they lost, even though I said it. In my head, I already had a kind of like, a quarterback that already knows where they're going with the ball, and then there's a blitz, and you're like, oh shit. Well, that's where I'm at right now. I was going to pick the Badgers, but I'm kind of herky-jerky, but I am going to pick the Fighting Illini to pull up. Would be like a minor upset just because it's on the road.
I'm going to take Purdue, the home team, and then also going to take the Badgers to whoop up on, or get whooped up on, I should say.
Okay, I was going to say whoop them. Wow.
Because I still remember the second half of the Michigan State just decimation of Wisconsin. And that one scarred in my head, brother. I think I lost like $30 on it, whatever. But that was a beatdown to where like Wisconsin's bigs made look like some boys. Like that was a beatdown, and that one and now you're going back to your home court. So I just don't see the transformation.
Loss too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going
I will
ISO.
be.
I'm going ISO. They just lost. They're
I, dude, yeah, and they came off a loss against Wisconsin the other time too. So again, it's a lot of times it's so much about schedule. So -4.5, I will gladly take Sparty with the 4.5 to get the job done. And for Wisconsin, they had that Johnny Davis, who about a month ago was really like in Vegas, like a top 3 player of the year
he already had a
contender.
pro deal. He was already drafted, I think.
Yeah, he's player of the year contender, but he's not that he's fallen off the map, but he's had a couple of games where he's been slumping, which if you're in college, you're going to get player of the year. You normally don't see college guys have more than maybe 1 or 2 games of a slump. He's kind of been in a bit of a funk for quite a while now. And I'm not saying the guys are like good. It's a lot.
He's
It
in the
does take a lot to
transfer
carry you.
portal. Just admit it. He's right there. He's got the page open and he's about to hit the button. Like, oh, should I be in the transfer portal or not?
So yeah, I would gladly, confidently bet Sparty, take the 4.5, or maybe see if you can get 4.5 or 4 or 3.5 or something. But yeah, I'll be betting green and white tomorrow.
Xavier at home feels like they're going to win. Friday night hoops, though. Friday night hoops. I like Baylor to beat Texas Saturday. We're talking 11 a.m. Central on ESPN2. I do like Baylor to protect their home court, although Texas has got plenty of talent, but we've probably said that the last couple of years as well. A couple other games that kind of stand out to me. Well, down the stretch of that night, 9 o'clock, ESPN and ESPN2. 9 o'clock, although they probably won't tip off at the exact same time. UCLA and USC at USC, which is not a far drive. Is UCLA going to get, not go on a 3-game losing streak and beat USC? And then speaking of halves, can St. Mary's at least stay with them within a 3 to 5 point range just in the first half against Gonzaga?
I don't know what it is about USC. I just don't think they play like a team. There's something when I watch them play, Chris, I can't put my finger on it, but it just does. It's like, I don't know. I feel like the offense is kind of like guys take turns playing iso ball, and I think their like defense is actually just kind of shit. Like when I watch them play, it's just like, dude, I feel like they have a lot of top name prospects, and they do, but the defensive skills are poor, and offensively, I just kind of feel like I'm going to take turns. Like it kind of looks like an NBA offense to me, where like, all right, dude, it's your turn, go do something. So something just doesn't quite sit well with me on them. So I'm going to pick against USC. And sorry, I got sidetracked to my USC. What was the other game you're speaking of, brother?
Oh, can St. Mary's even be within 40 to 37 in the first half? Because if not, that game, Gonzaga may not get tested the rest of the schedule.
Yeah, the St. Mary's team, especially watching them at the start of the season, they seem to be a little less skilled than prior St. Mary's teams. They did have a really nice, impressive come from behind win against San Francisco, who's like a respectable average team. They were down I believe over 17.5 and came back to beat San Fran. So St. Mary's isn't a joke, but I wouldn't say this is one of their stronger teams they've had. Now I have watched games when St. Mary's Gonzaga, especially at St. Mary's, it's a pretty fun watch. But with them being a lesser team than they're used to, I don't think they keep it close. I think that one is, I wouldn't say a beatdown, but I don't think Gonzaga's going to have to sweat too much, my friend.
Well, they got beat 52-43 at BYU, but that was coming off, a COVID pause, and they were in that San Diego State game. They got beat by Colorado State, who's decent for a mid-major team. They were in a really tight game with Wisconsin, and they did beat Oregon and Notre Dame. But that was, Thanksgiving. And it's February now. You know what I mean? So there's no turkey around the table or anything like that. There's no college football on, nothing like that. So if they can appear, maybe they can make that a game with 5 minutes left. That'd be cool. Because Gonzaga definitely needs to, to get tested like that. UConn at St. John's, man, I know we just keep, banging the drum on this, but golly, their schedule's nuts, man. Of late, just not even of late, just for the rest of the whole time, really. Any other games you want to preview before we kind of, break down some of these conferences? Because I'm looking at the ACC now after that loss, 9-3. You got 9-3 Duke, 9-3 Notre Dame, 9-4 half game out Wake Forest, the Demon Deacons. 8-4, 8-4, 9-5. That's Miami, North Kakalaka, and Virginia, who now only one game out. And hey, they beat Duke. ACC's all of a sudden getting kind of fun here down the stretch.
Yeah, it is, Chris. It is. And I think, we've named a lot of these teams who a couple weeks ago were like, dude, why are, a lot of these regular locked in tournament teams, in the bottom half of the conference? And again, give it a little bit of time. Now they don't have a whole lot more time, but they got another 3 weeks to maybe, get their ducks in the same pond and figure stuff out a little bit. But I wouldn't be surprised, if they start kind of creeping their way back up. So we're speaking, maybe about like of a Florida State, of a Virginia, of a Syracuse, of a Virginia Tech. I know Louisville kind of took a tough bullet with losing their coach in the middle of the year, which is never ideal. But yeah, I think that it is fun. We do have a couple of surprises up there. I don't think many people had Notre Dame, Wake, and Miami from 2-4, and then you got Virginia, Florida State, Syracuse, Carolina.
I had Wake. No, I'm just kidding.
So yeah, I do think it makes for it makes for a fun deal. Like you can give Kansas credit, and they deserve it for kind of running the show in the Big 12 for last decade plus. But there's something to be said for, hey, like, let's see a new crop of teams. Let's see if they can stick around, when it comes to February and be in there and see how they do in the conference tournament in March. So yeah, it's nice to see just a different switch of teams. Obviously, being a Carolina guy, I'd like my Carolina Heels to be up high, but they're tied for second place. They're doing okay. But yeah, it's a nice change of pace. It's good to see some things up there changed. And I will say though, lastly, I am surprised that Virginia and Florida State aren't ranked. Like, that's pretty much, I would say, almost a guarantee every February for the past, I would say, 7-8 years, say that pretty confidently, that if you looked in the past 7-8 seasons, in February, Leonard Hamilton and Tony Bennett's teams are pretty much always ranked. And normally one of them is, and I guess they are all tied for second in a way, but normally, have a better win-loss record than they do right now. So, yeah, it's getting more fun. That's completely perfect analysis, my friend. It's getting more fun.
Now, in the Big East and Big Ten, I'm noticing a trend here. We are starting to draw lines, okay? And some of them are a little bit more clear than others. We've already gone over UConn, who's sitting at 6-4 with, a lot of work to do. But if you go 500 in that stretch, you're going to end up pretty good. Xavier sitting 4 games out, the last ranked team. They play UConn twice. They also play Providence. So there could be some movement there, but it does seem like, that top 5, there is a line being drawn. And same with the Big Ten. When you drop off the rankings, those top 5, sure, 3 games with, 3 games out with Indiana and Rutgers, not far out. But it does seem, like I said, there's a pretty solid line there. Illinois, Wisconsin, Purdue, Michigan State, and Ohio State. And the beautiful thing of it is, Illinois literally plays Purdue and Wisconsin plays Michigan State. So that's a big separator for the Big Ten Conference this week.
Yeah, to talk about the Big East first, just because that is my favorite conference.
Yeah, we know. I mean, you say it every week. Jesus Christ.
He's like, dude, I gotta hear about Lane Kiffin and college football. Now it's the fucking Big East basketball. I need a new co-host.
Never.
So, but Providence, hey, all the sabermetrics people, shut your damn mouth. Oh, this team is the luckiest team in America. Well, maybe they are lucky, but they're also.
Shit, I wish my Gophers were that lucky.
Yeah, no shit. But they're 10-1 in arguably a top 3 conference in America. So if you keep, how much more lucky are you going to get? Like, if you go to Vegas, you can't get, it ain't going to be red 15 times in a row on roulette, or he ain't gonna, avoid craps for 20 rolls. So let's just call him good. And Villanova's right there behind him, and Marquette, who I think, and that's my sleeper Final Four pick right now, is pretty damn good. And then UConn and Xavier, respectable. You're right, though. After that, it does drop off. I bet a lot of people would have thought a month ago that Creighton, Seton Hall, and St. John's were potential tournament teams. But to wrap up my Big East talk, I'll keep it short. It's going to take a really good run from Creighton, Seton Hall, or St. John's to make the tournament because they have too many losses and they don't have enough wins. Like you're under 500 in conference or at 500, and you've kind of been getting beat up by those teams above you. I'm not saying it can't happen, but you got to go on a hell of a run to sneak up to that top 5. But man, Providence keep winning. Nova, like usual, a tournament test team, and yeah, it's just I'm sure I'll have something to say good about the conference next week, my friend.
And then screw the Big East or the Big Ten, and then
I was just catching my breath. Oh, okay, now to give the Big Ten credit as well. Purdue, they're 9-3 and yet they're third in the country. So it's like it's almost just kind of like you're having a couple losses here and there, but they can't be that bad because, dude, shit, you're third in the country yet you're third in your division. I guess tied for second. So, the thing that makes Purdue special, if you haven't seen them play, is they have two really good bigs, and they've pretty much had two really good bigs for the past 4 years now. So they somehow are able to draft really athletic bigs. So, Purdue is obviously a team to be concerned about. They have two good bigs and a great guard. Illinois has one great big, and they did have a guard go pro last year, but Illinois is obviously a good deep team. They're in first place. And Wisconsin, besides the beatdown I saw when they faced Sparty, doesn't really have any awful losses this year. But I will say there's a bit of a concern that your Johnny Davis, who was their stud guard, who really did carry that team to the hot start they had, again, has fallen off a bit. I'm not sure if that's the guys in a bit of a funk.
Just refresh that page again. I reports you just refreshed the transfer portal.
But again, if you look at Wisconsin, Chris, they've normally been a team that's just kind of more of they're an overall team. It's not so much they have a stud guard that averages 23 games. That's really never been their MO. So to have one guy kind of carry the weight of the team as opposed to having, they only have a couple of like good posts, a couple guys can jack up the three. So maybe that's putting a little extra pressure on the guy. But overall, look at their record, 9-3 in conference, 18-4 overall. Like, they're sitting there good. Sparty 8-3 in fourth place has, in my opinion, had some moments of looking the best in the whole conference overall. And Ohio State 7-3. Like, yeah, the Big Ten is loaded freaking up top. And to wrap
Johnny
this one
Davis
up,
and 8 dudes from Minnesota. That's who they got.
To wrap this one up, though, again, if we're talking about people on the bubble, Indiana is 7-5 in the Big Ten. Like, they're a definite bubble team. Rutgers is 7-5. Probably needs some more impressive wins. They've been kind of racking up on the bad teams and losing to the good ones. And Michigan, right now they're probably outside the bubble, but you're 5-5 in conference. You're not dead. I think a lot of people were surprised that Juwan Howard and his team kind of came out flat like they did. But I wouldn't say their hopes are over. There's still some hopes there, but you got to sneak in a couple of big wins to maybe sneak onto that Lenardi bubble, Chris.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Moving to the SEC and the Pac-12, another theme with the movement and the line. Arkansas can make a move. They can make a move. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but they can make a move. They still have to play Kentucky. They play Tennessee twice. They play Auburn. So they can still make a move. And I noticed in the Pac-12, Oregon still has to play USC, Ucla, and Arizona. So they're not completely out of it. They can still make a move. But they are kind of, they've been the more, with Arizona, they've been kind of established this last decade or whatever. Obviously UCLA having a big, season last year, but it's still in the realm, but they got a lot of work cut out for them.
Yeah. And They do. I'll start with the Pac-12, and then hit the SEC as we do our cross-country trips as my co-host waste all of our gas money. But yeah,
Screw the environment, man. I'm just gonna burn it. Burn that oil.
So Arizona probably is, the most talented team in the Pac-12. Like on paper, sabermetrics, on numbers, like that is probably the most skilled offense in the group. And their one loss was at UCLA, and UCLA shot lights out. UCLA also, when they get right, because they had a COVID bug, they kind of went through a little rough patch there. I think that team will be good to go and ready come tournament time. Like, obviously COVID has affected teams differently this year, but UCLA kind of took one on the chin there. So I think when it comes down to March, you're going to see a pretty focused team like we saw last year. I'm not saying they're going to be a Final Four lock, but they didn't really lose many people from last year. And you're going to have a pretty
damn Arizona like 10 days ago too.
Yeah, so that's a legit looking team. USC, I know their record's good. I just don't like how they play. That's just my personal opinion. They just something about that seems off with me. To give Washington credit, they were kind of bottom of the barrel like not too long ago, and they've been playing a nice little run. So they're maybe creeping up to the bubble watch. Oregon has potential, but you also know they're not ranked, which goes to show, hey, if you're second in a good conference and you're not ranked, that's because you have some shitty losses, which Oregon does. Oregon is probably, Chris, the most unpredictable team in the Pac-12. I keep saying big because this is a team where in a given week beat UCLA and USC both on the road. So if I'm giving out my gold stars for road wins to go to both of those gyms back-to-back games, that's a hell of a performance. But I watched Colorado play Washington State this past week, and that was legit the worst performance I've seen from a team this year in D1 basketball. I mean,
I've seen all 368 of them too.
Hey, well, our Jacksonville Dolphins keep repping. So, I mean, that Colorado team was absolute trash, and this Colorado team beat Oregon at home. So the ceiling and the floor for Oregon is massively tall. Like that team, dude, you beat two top 10 teams and you lose to a team who I would say is probably a bottom 200 team from the way they played that. And like there's a huge variety of range, but Oregon, they normally come tournament time, they normally win a couple of games. So
3 games left against all those ranked teams too.
Amen. So yeah, Oregon's one to look out for. And you said the SEC, right, my friend?
I did. Yep.
Okay. And well, hey, I gave Kentucky credit. You beat people up on the road who are good. They deserve it. Auburn, how much longer can they stay undefeated? You're getting your punches. They've really actually been having they haven't had, actually, I can't say I haven't made close games. They were up like 18 against Georgia at half.
Yeah.
And I guess, kind of took the foot off the pedal. They did get the win though. But Auburn's obviously like legit, you're undefeated in the Big 12, in SEC play. You're 12-0 at home. You're 7-0 away. So you had a neutral site loss. Okay. Kentucky's right on your butt. Arkansas, I think when they're home and away are a massively different team. I've seen this Arkansas team play a couple of games on the road where they look pretty pedestrian, but at home, they really play a lot of energy. And to wrap up my SEC talk, Tennessee, they have potential, Chris, to be good because their defense is elite, but offensively, they can really struggle. Like in games where Tennessee can score in the 60s, you're looking at probably a good chance of winning, but the offense is so massively hit or miss. Oh, and one last part, sorry. LSU was basically ranked for a month in a row. Now they're 4-6 in conference and like in a big hole. I remember we talked about them.
I thought they had the best coach in the nation. I thought that was what everyone was saying.
I remember saying their offense has issues because they would go from scoring 80 in a game and then scoring 50. So, dude, you're 4-6 in conference now, and you're right there with Bama at 4-6. LSU and Bama have potential to make the tournament, but you best go on a pretty damn good run for the rest of this month if you want to have a chance to sneak into March.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Remember, Arizona was down 14-1 early, 5 minutes to play, 28-28. So everybody just calm down. The Wildcats, and the Sun Devils are battling on FS1 on a Monday. That is so weird. I wonder if that was scheduled. I wouldn't doubt if they just kind of like, this is what we're going to go with because we got to reschedule or whatever. It seems like Thursday, Saturday, Monday is not really a normal schedule in college basketball. That's like a 4 games and 6 nights in the NBA. Usually you just don't play. I mean, you'll play some, Saturday, Mondays, but then you don't play till next Saturday, the next Saturday. So
Sure.
Time off to practice and everything like that. Kansas does that a lot because they're featured in the Big 12 in general, are featured on, Big Monday a lot. All right. Let's get to that crappy pick of the week, sir.
All right, well, just to review from last week, we're currently 2-0.
Hey.
And if you've not heard this segment before, it all started with the football show. We think we do about 8 years now for the football show, and we pick just a really shitty game every week, and then we just kind of have fun breaking it down. And in football, we normally hit a 70% clip, and we're currently 2-0 in basketball this year. So, as I will get a new game set up for my co-host here. Oh God, can we read?
What day is it at least? Saturday? Is it Wednesday? What day?
We are going with. I had one here. Just give me 1 second, my friend.
Don't make me play the Coach K clip. I mean, I'll do it. I'll do it right now. I don't care.
Well, you caught me by surprise. I thought we had another second, but we're good. We're good. Okay. Oh, good God. Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, hey, this is definitely a shitty game. Okay. The game is.
What day is it?
The 9th. So we're going to a Wednesday. Okay. All right. It is a 6:30 Central Time game. Okay. And you have the Maryland East Shorehawks.
They can't even start at 6. They put the shitty games at 6:30.
And the Shorehawks, I'm not quite, I guess it's a bird that lives on the beach, is
Maryland
traveling.
Eastern Shorehawks, you're saying?
Maryland Eastern Shorehawks are traveling to the Delaware State Hornets. We have a Hawk facing a Hornet. Now, you could say the Hornets, the Delaware State Hornets, there's a Hornet's nest. Well, I don't think many people are afraid to walk in or get stung because Delaware State's 2-16 and 0-5 in conference. Maryland's 2-4 in this garbage conference. So, Chris, let's take it away as the Shorehawks travel on their own again. When college basketball shitty teams play on their own, it's hard for them to win. So, can the Delaware State Hornets get off the offer in conference and upset the Maryland East Shorehawks Wednesday night? And the game is not on ESPN Plus. Just to let people know. And there's not even a price for Vivid Seats.
They're not selling tickets. They're not even selling tickets.
Jesus Lord. Go ahead, brother.
It's in a hall. So that kind of tells you, Memorial Hall. That sounds like you can put people in it.
Jesus.
Man. Yeah, this is pretty bad. I'll say that.
Hey, Delaware State, 2 of their last 3 games have been 2-point losses. So they play with a lot of heart. They got heart, Chris. They got heart.
Name those games. The opponent.
South Carolina State and Coppin State.
Got it. Okay, there we go. So that pretty much decides it for me. No, what I do like is that they hung around with this team we've been talking about, the Yukon Huskies. 72-63.
Ooh.
And they beat Lehigh last week. Or the week before we went with Lehigh. They lost to Lehigh, whoever the hell it was. But at least we knew who the hell Lehigh was. Right? We know them. So I'm going to go with the visiting Maryland Eastern Shore Hawks to come by and just kind of swoop by the Beehive, stir them up, and then just dip because they can fly faster. I'm assuming anyway. So, yeah, I'm going with the Maryland Eastern Shore Hawks, the first road game victory of the year. And then I also have to do this.
Butters introduced Mike Krzyzewski to the media, saying that the 33-year-old Chicago native was Butters' first choice and received unanimous consent from the Duke Athletic Council. There is no doubt in my mind that Mike is the brightest young coaching talent in America. This, coupled with his many personal qualities, led us to believe him to be the best possible choice to lead Duke's basketball program now and in the future. In his 5 years at West Point, Krzyzewski's teams posted a 73-59 record, including a 20-win season in 77. This past year, the Cadets won only 9 of 26 games.
It's an honor to be named head basketball coach at Duke. I've come from what I think is one of the greatest schools in the world, the United States Military Academy. It's another school that I think is one of the greatest schools in the world.
Greatest schools in the world. You heard it first. That was the way back in 1980. Coach K getting introduced as the head coach of Duke University.
On a side note, just so you know, the Delaware State Hornets' 2 wins this year were against Cairn University, C-A-I-R-N, and Regent
It's Cairn.
University.
They shut that shit down because too many Cairns went. That's where they've been developing the Cairns.
It's a C-A-I-R-N, not a K, Chris, not a K, C-A-I-R-N.
Sounds like Cairn.
Neither of those schools, if you go to ESPN, you cannot click on them because there's no link to that school.
It was an exhibition.
Yeah. But hey, you're 2 of your last 3 losses are by 2 points. You know, that Hornet, Chris, my co-host say consider that Hornet stats. It's going to be cooking. So on that note, we will be breaking down the Delaware State Hornets and their nest and see how they do against the Shorehawks. That's a hell of a matchup. Not even on ESPN Plus. You can't even buy an effing ticket. So on that note, stay safe.
Yeah, it's sold out.
Stay safe. Hey, and March Madness is 5 weeks away. You start putting on your calendar, make a little countdown on your cell phone. We are 5 weeks away from picking brackets and having one of the best 4-month stretches of sports we get to enjoy in this country as fans. So we'll be back next week. The boys are out tonight. Peace.